So, welcome to DC Fan Gives Hope. And if you haven't, if this is your first time watching this, and you've found this and wondering what the heck all this is about, it's basically I run a page on Facebook called DC Fan Gives Hope, and I decided just to grab a phone and set up a YouTube channel just for me, my personal use. It's not meant to grab so many subscribers or anything like that. It's nothing fancy. It's just me unloading myself, right? And getting my thoughts out there so I don't bore anybody else. Okay, so forgive me. So yeah, I was. So there was a lot. I was going to cut this down to many different videos, and I thought, no, get one video for 3 minutes to get that bit off my chest, and make another video and get that 2 minutes off my chest. And I mean that's a good way of getting people to watch them, but and then I thought against it, because once I get started, I just want to get it out, and if it takes 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, then so be it. It doesn't matter if like one person watches it. It's just me. I'm making this for me, and maybe I want to talk about it just now instead of stopping this and making another one that's like 5 minutes. So hang tight, okay? Now, if any of you know, I'm a big DC supporter. I support everything DC. I try to put the positive side on things, but sometimes it's hard to put positive stuff on things, especially if it's I could put a positive stuff, say, on the Justice League movie that we got, right? But then other people that want, say, the Zack Snyder cut, I mean, I do as well, okay? They will want they will disagree with that, right? They'll disagree whatever I say, but there are fans out there that love the Justice League, so it's very hard to be positive with what about one and not the other. Okay. Now, getting back, I was originally going to call this video "I Don't Recognise This World Anymore." Now, the thing that Clark says to Lois, and there's so much of that is so true. And then there's a guy that my partner was speaking to, and the stuff that he said was basically, was contradicting himself, and so that's when I came up with the title of it just now. And so I want to get on to, I'm not recognising this world. And let's face it, we don't. This world has changed. Some people may say since September the 11th, that's when everything changed. And it may have a point there. Dictators were killed and destroyed, dictators that were basically keeping their country in check, and other countries wanted to remove them because they wanted to look good, as though they were getting rid of some sort of fascism or communism or whatever. But by getting rid of the head of the snake, just meant, that it still had a tail, and it caused more problems and stuff like that. Not a good example, but it was off the cuff. Anyway, I mean, we look at the world just now, alright, our politicians, our leaders, the environment, the constant struggles with race, the constant struggles with, over here it's Brexit, breaking away from the European, Scotland and England wanting to, wondering if they should go independent. America's president wants to build a wall and it's becoming unlike the Star Trek future that I foresee. That I would love to have that sort of, we're all united. And BVS reflected so many things that's so wrong today, and Man of Steel, where everything is put down on faith and there's fear, and news gets around, and there's no point in trying to hide faith. The internet is there. People can be corrupted by what they read online, like Bruce Wayne was in BVS. people can try to make a change, try to better the world, and and by doing so, they end up just looking bad. There is so much darkness in the world, and there is that you become unrecognisable. That we have made some steps forward, when it comes to acceptance of sexuality, and there's some acceptance of race and everything else. And then we have the equality agenda with women. We have films now pushing forward the women's rights and having them, in front of the camera, which of course should happen, but not to the extent where they're just making films just so they can have a woman in the front. We're having TV shows where they have to invent characters so they can have a black person or a woman involved in the lead role, so everything's all PC. The world as we know it is changed, and the media and everything else is trying to come up with ways to say what the populace want. What the populace wants. And that is the key word, populace. Now on the end of this video I'll put a wee link to two girls that are demanding, see I'll be jumping in backwards and forwards with conversations, that is demanding that film studios should stop listening to should stop listening to haters and give the people that support the film their movie. It's just cause. But sadly enough, it's making movies is something that needs money. And if films don't make money, then why, they won't make it, or they won't carry on with that and stuff like that. And DC has had a struggle from the word go. Okay, now as you and I probably aware, I am a big fan of the movies, of all of them. And yeah, I can see ways of the films could have been better. Yes, everybody can with every kind of film, but we've got to realise that in order to make a franchise or film better, they have got to get as much people interested in to make money, right? Especially when not everyone is happy. Not everyone was happy with Man of Steel. Not everyone was happy with BVS, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. Okay? They haven't yet found the balance. So, but when they tried to make Justice League, they tried to make a film where the populace, right, the majority of people enjoyed it. But by doing that, they sabotaged a director's vision. It's artwork, and we live in a world now where those things are looked down upon. We're living in a world where the majority wins, and in order to have the majority, we have to sacrifice losing these things that only certain people, a small majority will like, a small minority, I should say, would like. And that dampens variety, that pushes variety down, and then everything becomes manufactured. And it's a shame that years ago people were willing to take those risks. And now and because bars have been set by so-called other companies, jobs are on the line, futures are on the line, because they have to match that. And that's what business is. But I'm afraid that we're now living in a world where the world is getting dumber. The world is certainly getting dumber, because when I talk to younger ones and about the complexity of some movies and the films that would have to make you think, or the ending that isn't quite explained, but you have to go out and then you have to research it and review it and then watch it again to see if you got it. Those films somehow are not acceptable for a lot of people. There's not enough action in it. People will get bored within the first 10 minutes. I miss the time when I used to watch the TV, watch black and white movies, and be enthralled by just the story alone. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, classic film. Guy talking, phone booth, brilliant. Telephone booth, that's it. 12 Angry Men. Films have lost the people's, are dumbing down people's brains. That we can't seem to have movies anymore that are different if it doesn't follow this so-called makeup of a movie. It has to follow that type. Christopher Nolan brought out the Dark Knight trilogy, and that was a dark Batman. It wasn't really Batman, okay? Not our comic Batman, but people accepted it, even though it was dark. Now people complain that DC's dark. Partner was in work, and there was a 21-year-old who said he only buys Marvel DVDs. And of course jumped right in there and said, well, partner just buys DC, he hates Marvel. Oh, well, that's the fault with DC fans, they never see the flaws. I said, no, we do see mistakes, of course. I see flaws in Marvel as well, but that doesn't deter my enjoyment of those movies. And I'm dumbfounded in why other people don't enjoy it. But it's because people have been put in the dumb basket and want movies where they can just go and eat popcorn and leave their brains behind. And then maybe it's an age thing. Maybe I've gotten to an age where I want something more from our heroes. I'm wanting more than the cheesy Christopher Reeve movies that came out years ago. I want my Man of Steel to have problems. I want my Man of Steel to be, arguing and making mistakes, and he's not just two-dimensional that a lot of people thought he was. He also then goes on and saying stuff like, it's all... I enjoyed Man of... my partner says, well, the best superhero is Superman. And I says, I love Superman. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe, as you get older, you want it to be darker and stuff. Oh, I saw Man of Steel. The film was okay, but the story was naff. How can the story be naff when you're talking about a guy who doesn't know where he belongs in the world? What would you rather have? A guy that's just accepted? We live in a world just now where hardly anyone is accepted. Where we look twice at everybody. We don't accept being a part of a union in the world anymore. We don't accept, certain minorities living in our streets. Cops in America look at black people in a different way in some parts of the country. We'll go on planes, and as soon as we see certain people we hesitate. Some people can't walk down the street seeing somebody the same sex holding hands. We live in a world where, from the day we were born, we are brainwashed into believing what our parents believe in, or we are brainwashed into, when we go to movies, that this is the only way to see certain movies, jeopardising artwork, jeopardising artists that want to tell a whole new way, a whole new vision. He then later on goes on, and my wife, partner, says, I said, well, see, my husband's been collecting for 30 odd years. He's been reading comics, and he read comics, and he also read Marvel. I was glad I would have been applauding. And he read Marvel, but he believes that the films totally destroyed Spider-Man, especially the recent ones. And the Hulk movies were, alright. She preferred the Eric Bana one. And I says, but maybe he just wants something else. right? So she goes on along that way. So I thought it was pretty good. I was there. Then he hears a song, right? He hears a song in the background, and he says, "Oh, I hate that song. I hear it all the time." And she says, "Oh, that's from The Greatest Showman. Have you seen it?" No. Well, then you can't say, if you've seen the film, then you would have enjoyed the music, the song better, because it's about men having inner struggles and being accepted of who you are. In a world that would put hate, and these songs add to that. Oh, I know, it was one of those films that were manufactured to make you happy. Is it make you happy? So you shouldn't go. And I'm thinking, manufactured? One of those. And this is that not what Marvel does? Is that not what is that is that not what you're meant to do, and go in and see a film and not come out happy? I says, I'd like to know. To go into a film and come out happy. And then is that not what Marvel movies does? Is that not maybe all the jokes? So he was basically stood there and he contradicted himself. The fact that he wouldn't go and see DC because they're dark movies. But we live in a dark time. I would never turn my way a film off because of, I watch all kinds of genres. And I'm educated for all these different types of genres. Just recently I watched The Butler. And I thought it was a fantastic piece of movie. And then after that, I'm watching an action film. I could easily watch a black and white one. I can then watch a musical or a chick flick. And people will not try these new things. People would not try to venture out of the box and try and accept these films for being or made the way they are, or people. So, as I said at the beginning, BVS was a film of two people manipulated by somebody high up. Somebody high up. That's why these politicians or leaders get voted in, because they are brainwashed, and we are put to war because of what some sort of politician or smart person has said it would be better for. And that's exactly what Lex done between Bruce and Clark. And it just takes the one man struggling against all odds to turn a person's face around and start believing that he is a good man. He is one of us, like a Man of Steel. With Justice League, what we got was a film that was they tried to make it popular to the populace, because that is how you make it. And for a business sense, that is common sense, to make a film more popular. Justice League, it had to be good. It had to be at least on par with the Avengers. But by doing that, by trying to conform to the majority, what you lost was the minority. You lost those Snyder fans that wanted to see this third part. These are the Snyder fans that probably would have seen it many more times. But then again, do we blame the Snyder Cut for its decline? Because the more and more we talk about the Snyder Cut, the more and more we hate the film that we got. And that is an unsettling thing. And this is the internet. This is the way, the world has turned now, that we feel that we have the power, to dictate what films we should get. We're trying to turn the world around now. It's going back to the 1970s, when we don't want to be dictated by companies and what we should get. We're sending messages, and we're sending internet messages to the people at Warner Brothers. This is not the film you want, and we're sending thousands or maybe millions to Warner Brothers. And it says, please don't listen to those fans. Listen to us. And the more we do that, the more, you know, the more it convinces us that the film that we watched maybe 6 times, and that's what gets me as well. When I hear somebody tell me it took me the 3rd or 4th time after watching Justice League to see its flaws, to see the mistakes, and I get that a lot. I went to see it 3 times, and on my 3rd time, you know, I saw the film, and I'm thinking, but there was never ever any mention of a Snyder Cut. Would you have appreciated it more or enjoyed it more? Has the internet manipulated you into thinking not only about the Snyder Cut, but that film would be much better for you? And this is the world we live in today. And before I can, you know, before I set off, I'm all for the Snyder Cut. I'm all for it. But at the same time, I'm not going to put down a film that I waited all my life for and an acceptance, and I'm not going to get brain. I'm going to put on Justice League maybe tonight and accept it for what it is and not be too prejudgmental, because we are living in a world that is very judgmental, and we need to all try to put a positive thoughts and feelings in our lives, because we do not know what's around the corner for us. But the more and more we bang on about, you know, about it, or the more and more we think we have a huge say in what gets done, we must realise that we're becoming the enemy, and we're damaging our own likes about the film. Now, most people say that when they saw Justice League, they liked it. They didn't love it. They liked it. That's what they're saying about Aquaman just now. It's good. It's not great. Don't let that interfere about your own personal thoughts. Do not let the internet or anything or YouTube or me tell you if a film is good or it's great or it's bad. Turn off those switches in your head. Okay? We're living in a world that we don't get and that we don't understand. And it's a strange one, isn't it? So there's no moral code for this. There's no. It's just the world going nuts. Thank you for listening. As I say, there's a lot of hypocrisy out there. There is a lot of people that claiming to know better than us, claiming to think this is the only way, and then contradicting themselves. So try to be different, like what I do when I try to put a positive side on everything. You probably disagreed with most of the stuff I've said, but this is stuff, ideas in my head. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Check out these links below. Thank you.